How is everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Lines. This is your host, Gary McKenzie, here on RGR Football Network on YouTube. The best content out there for Chiefs fans that exists in the history of mankind and womankind. So that's obviously just my opinion, and I'm not necessarily talking about myself. Talking about Ryan, Dan, and Seth, all do awesome work for RGR Football. I just play my little role, and now that I've got that spiel out of the way, I kind of like starting my videos with that. Today's role for me is I want to talk about the schedule release. So it just happened Wednesday night. So you should be seeing this video on Thursday, if all goes well according to the schedule here at RGR. But since the schedule just dropped, I wanted to go over the schedule for the Chiefs and talk about my initial reaction to every game on the schedule and how I feel about various different things that might line up for the Chiefs this season. So without any further ado, we can jump right in on it. And week one, we've known this one for a while. The Chiefs are going to play the Baltimore Ravens in Kansas City to open the regular season. Now, whenever I was thinking of teams that could potentially play the Chiefs in this opener, I was leaning towards Houston. I thought that the Texans might be the team the Chiefs face the first week of the season, similar to what happened in last year's opener where the Chiefs faced the upstart Detroit Lions, who were making splashes, making noise, were seeming like they were going to be a much improved team that year, which they were. But the NFL had other plans and chose to go with the Baltimore Ravens. And this is going to be a difficult game for the Ravens because they have to watch all of the Chiefs parading around, celebrating, dropping banners, you name it, right in front of them whenever last year was supposed to be their year. So the Ravens are going to be motivated to win this game, perhaps out of anger, frustration of what happened last year. And the Chiefs, at the same time, are going to have this attitude of, well, we beat them last year, but they're coming in here thinking they can beat us and that they can push us around. And we're going to have to start the season off playing some bully ball and fighting back. And I think this Chiefs team, with Andy Reid as the head coach, is going to be able to do that. It should be a good game, though. Looking at the Chiefs' schedule in total, I'll talk about it at the end of the video, but there's not a lot of gimmies this year, at least not jumping out at me now, right as soon as I get my first reaction to the schedule. But week one, the Chiefs play the Ravens. Week two, another AFC North opponent, they play the Bengals. So this game's at home in Kansas City, and realistically speaking, the Chiefs could start the season 0-2 or 2-0. I wouldn't be surprised by either. Both of these teams are top-flight contenders in the AFC. The Chiefs' schedule makers didn't do them any favors to start the season. Things get much easier as the season progresses, but the start of the season is going to be difficult. And these two games to start the season for the Chiefs are really going to have an impact on playoff seeding, in my opinion. I think that Baltimore is more of a threat than the Bengals are, just because Joe Burrow's health has been a question mark during his career. And how many games can he play? And also, the Bengals haven't looked good with Joe Burrow as the quarterback to start any of their campaigns that he's been playing and healthy. So the Bengals have this history of starting slow. Now, maybe that's just random, or maybe it has to do something with their preparation, but you would hope that the Bengals start slow again and the Chiefs get the better end of that deal. Ended up beating the Bengals in Kansas City. So 2 games right out of the gate is going to be really hard for the Chiefs. Big divisional opponents not divisional, conference opponents, big conference opponents that are going to be fighting for playoff seeding. So the Chiefs really need to start off the season on a good foot. Week 3, they play the Atlanta Falcons, which they're going to be going through this whole Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix Jr. issue. Um, I'm of the opinion, just like pass rushers, I don't think you can have enough quarterbacks. Look how the Green Bay Packers have handled their quarterback situation. They have had one guy waiting in the wings for years, while another player who was much, who was in their prime, was playing the quarterback position. So I've got no problems with what the Falcons did at the quarterback position. And if they want to let Penix develop for a little while, I'm on board with that. I know he's a little older, and maybe he doesn't need, as many years as those Green Bay quarterbacks do. The thought of him coming out of college is he's played all these games. He should be able to start right out of the gate. But that's not, I think, what the Falcons want to do. They want him to sit back and learn behind Kirk Cousins for a season or two or three, depending on how Cousins, whether or not they honor his contract. But the Chiefs have fared well against Kirk Cousins in the past. So I would expect this to be one of the games that I feel like is one of the better chances for the Chiefs to win. Week 4, they go to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. And I honestly have no idea what's going to happen with Jim Harbaugh as the head coach there. I think the Chargers are going to be much improved, but there's just too much up in the air about the Chargers this year. And I could see them going anywhere from 12-5 to, 5-12 and anything in between. So that week 4 game for the Chiefs should give a decent idea at that point in time where the Chargers stand. It'll be a measuring stick for them. Next week, the Chiefs have the New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr still serving as their quarterback. And this is a Monday night game. And I thought it was interesting that Chiefs got 2 Monday night games this year, and both of them were versus NFC South opponents. So one's versus the Saints, and then the other's versus the Buccaneers. So very interesting for Monday night matchups for the Chiefs. But this New Orleans game is another game that I feel fairly confident the Chiefs should be able to win, and then head into their bye next week in Week 6. So the Chiefs have a really early bye this season, and I don't like it. I don't like the bye being in Week 6. I wish it was later in the season. That way they could get a rest, Week 10, 11, 12, and be kind of geared up and healthier for the playoffs. So without there being a 2 seed that gets a bye, with the new playoff format with 7 teams, you really hope Kansas City can gun for that number 1 seed, because they're going to need a bye towards the end of the year. And if they can't get one with the 1 seed, it's going to be really hard to do that 3-peat, which we all want them to do so much. But some comments from Roger Goodell about the bye, and kind of his thoughts of what he wants the NFL to become in the future. And he says he wants to limit the preseason to 1 or 2 or 3 games. I think it's 2 or 3 games. And then play an 18-game regular season with 2 byes. And I really like that idea. I think that adding an extra bye in there would be better for the players, give them more rest. It would extend the season so everyone gets to watch a lot more football. And I think that's a win-win for everyone, especially if the players can get more pay because of that extra game. But then following the bye, the Chiefs have to travel to San Francisco. Rematch of the Super Bowl. And this is a matchup that I'm really curious about, because the Browns and Chiefs supposedly have this secret way of neutralizing the 49ers offense that not every team could do last season, and that's playing cover 1. And not very many teams had the personnel to play cover 1, but the Chiefs and the Browns did. And both teams played really good defense against the 49ers. So my question for the 49ers next year is going to be, okay, is their goose cooked? Is the cat out of the bag? Our team's going to have a better idea how to stop that offense. And only time will tell, but by week 7, I'm thinking that since the NFL is a copycat league, the 49ers are going to be entrenched in facing cover 1 at that point in time. And we'll see if they come into that game playing terribly offensively, or if it's a nothing burger and that cover 1's not not going to cause them any problems. It's just the Chiefs and Browns defense that were very good that caused them all those problems. Moving on to week 8, the Chiefs travel to Las Vegas, and who knows if Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell is going to be quarterback for the Chiefs. The Raiders are one of those teams that I think, if everything went right with Minshew, maybe they could make the playoffs as a 7 seed. And honestly speaking, I hate to say this, but I think Gardner Minshew is like the perfect Raider quarterback. Kind of has that mystique about him, a little bit of an unsung hero. He's been getting benched, a little bit of a journeyman, has some moxie to him. And so I think that he's an interesting quarterback for the Raiders. And as a Chiefs fan, obviously, I don't want to see him play well, but I mean, I love Gardner Minshew. Whenever he first came in the league, all those jokes, everything, I want to see him do well, just not against the Chiefs. I don't know if any of you feel that way about Gardner Minshew. Let me know down in the comments if you ever got swept up in Minshew mania, because I love to hear it, and I love the Gardner Minshew jokes too. But leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Minshew playing for the Raiders. And then while we're at it, if you're here and you like the content, make sure you hit the like button down here somewhere. It really helps us out. And then subscribe if you haven't done so already. So we're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. We're getting closer every single day. Every single one of you that hits the subscribe button, subscribes to the channel, watches the content, we can't thank you enough because you're what makes this possible. You're actually the reason that I was able to come on board and join Ryan and Dan and Seth. It's because they were getting bigger and they had more avenues for people. So I can't appreciate you all enough. They're part of the reason why I'm here. So hit that subscribe button if you want to. Help us out. If not, just carry on. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of this video. So getting back to the Chiefs schedule, week 9. They play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a Monday night in Kansas City. And once again, I think it's a peculiar Monday night opponent for a primetime game. And it'll be Baker Mayfield versus Patrick Mahomes. And maybe the angle they're playing is just that insane college football game that Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes played, 8 or 9 years ago, where they both put up like 1,000 yards and 500 touchdowns apiece, just something ridiculous. Maybe that's the angle they're going after that game. But that's another game I'm fairly confident the Chiefs should be able to handle. Then they play Denver at home. And Denver's another one of those teams where I'm like, I don't know. I thought that Russell Wilson, for all his shortcomings last year, kind of played some winning football for them towards the end of the year. And then Bo Nix, some people had him as a second-round pick, and the Broncos take him in the first round, and I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of that pick. Obviously, Sean Payton knows what he's doing. He wanted to draft Patrick Mahomes before the Chiefs leapfrogged him. So I wouldn't say that he has a terrible eye for quarterback talent, but the jury's still out. So by week 10, that'll be the first time the Chiefs see the Broncos, and I think things are going to be pretty well understood who the Broncos are going to be at that point in time. And it could be one of the easier wins for the Chiefs in the year, but you saw what happened last year. The Broncos broke that 16-game win streak for the Chiefs, and so no game is a gimme in this league. Moving on to week 11, the Chiefs go to Buffalo. They play at Buffalo. Buffalo's retooling, and I don't know if the retooling is going to be a good thing for them. They got rid of a lot of starting players for themselves and then tried to build through the draft. And the Chiefs did that too, and they won 2 Super Bowls in a row. So I don't think Buffalo is throwing in the towel at all. I think that they're just approaching the problem from a different angle. After that, week 12, the Chiefs will face Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers at Carolina. And this, honestly speaking, might be from a historical standpoint, the easiest opponent the Chiefs will face in 2024, looking at their schedule as is now. Moving on to week 13, they play the Raiders again. This one in Kansas City. This is a Black Friday game, which is peculiar. little personal note, I'm not a big fan of Black Friday. I do not want to stand in line around all these different shoppers while people crawl over each other to get a deal on something that I honestly feel like the stuff that they put up for sale on Black Friday is just not as good a quality. And maybe that's why it's cheaper, but that's just me talking crap on Black Friday. If you love it, then more power to you. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying it's just not for me. I'm not a big fan of large crowds unless it's at Arrowhead or a concert. But week 13, the Chiefs play the Raiders in Kansas City, and you would look for at that point in time, if Gardner Minshew is still starting at the quarterback, or Aiden O'Connell is, if at this point in time in the season by week 13, if the same quarterback that started week 1 for the Raiders starts in this week 13 game, they've made it all those 13 games, I think the Raiders are going to be trying to get into the playoffs. If they switch back and forth between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, then that's a different story. And I don't think they're going to make the playoffs if they have to, play that quarterback leapfrog all season long while they're trying to figure out what to do. Raiders are another team, kind of like the Chargers, where I just don't know. I think as far as probabilities go, I'd say Las Vegas and Denver are the most likely two teams to finish in the last place in the AFC West. And then the Chargers, I think, would be a step ahead of them. And then the Chiefs are really in a league of their own. But speaking of the Chargers, the Chiefs see them week 14 at Kansas City. And by that point in time of the season, Jim Harbaugh should have that unit pretty well oiled up and ready to go as a well-functioning team. And that could be an exciting game. It could have some ramifications for the Chiefs' seeding in the AFC West. So that Week 14 game is the second to last AFC West opponent or AFC West game the Chiefs will face, and their last one's Week 18. So the division could be fairly tied up for the Chiefs if all things go well after that Week 14 game. Moving on to Week 15, the Chiefs travel to Cleveland, and this game is a little bit intimidating to me just because of how good the Cleveland Browns pass rush is. And, you don't want to see Mahomes get crushed a lot in that game. So really would be looking for the Chiefs' left tackle position to have been solidified by that point in time. Hopefully the offensive line is not injured and they can hold up. So that's going to be a game that I feel like the Chiefs just need to survive and get out of there, hopefully with the win and without anybody getting hurt on the offense or defensive side of the ball. Week 16 is a Saturday game. So you got to love those end of the season Saturday games once college football season's over. NFL starts to creep into those Saturdays, and it's the Houston Texans in Kansas City. And I believe this game will have huge ramifications for playoff seeding. And I think that the Houston Texans are going to be one of the better teams in the AFC next season. I think that they're going to be fighting to break into that echelon that Baltimore and Cincinnati and Buffalo and Kansas City have been living in. And I think they're going to do it. I think that they're going to be one of the best teams in the AFC next season. That Week 16 game, mark it on your calendars. It should be a good one. Week 17, they travel to Pittsburgh. And I'm going to say the same thing for Pittsburgh as I said for the Raiders. If the Steelers start the season with one of their two quarterbacks that they have, whether they choose to go week 1 with Russell Wilson, which I think that's what they told Russell Wilson, that he's the guy to start the season, or for whatever reason they go to Justin Fields to start week 1, if they have the same starter playing all season long, then that means that they had a good year. If the Chiefs see Justin Fields in this game, then things have not gone quite right because they pretty much told Russell Wilson he's the guy, and I don't really see the Steelers organization as an organization that would go back on their word like that. But, you never know. If Justin Fields gets in training camp and lights things up, maybe he's the starter. But it's never a good thing to have a quarterback uh, battle or controversy starting the season. So the Steelers, we'll see how long they can ride this thing with Mike Tomlin. But I think that's a game where the Chiefs are just going to overpower Pittsburgh, and there's nothing Pittsburgh can do about it. Then week 18, that Pittsburgh game, by the way, is on a Wednesday. It's Christmas Day. So a weird schedule for the Chiefs. They got Monday night opponents. They've got a Friday night game. They've got a Saturday night game. They've got a Wednesday night game, or the Wednesday game during Christmas. Just a really weird season. And the last game of the year, week 18, is to be announced. So they don't know what day it's going to be. But that game is at Denver. And by that point in time in the season, I am assuming that Bo Nix will for sure be starting. I don't know if the Broncos are even going to entertain the thought of maybe using a veteran to start the season for them. But we'll know everything we need to know about Bo Nix as far as, whether or not he looks like he can play in this league by that week 18 game. So there you go. There's the Chiefs' regular season. Week 1, Baltimore. Week 2, Cincinnati. Week 3, at Atlanta. Week 4, at the Chargers. Week 5, New Orleans. Week 6, they have their bye. Week 7, at San Francisco. Week 8, at Las Vegas. Week 9, Tampa Bay. Week 10, Denver. Week 11, at Buffalo. Week 12, at Carolina. Week 13, Raiders. Week 14, Chargers. Week 15, at Cleveland. Week 16, Houston Texans. Week 17, at Pittsburgh. Week 18, at Denver. So aside from the kind of weird Monday, Saturday, Wednesday games they have sprinkled all around, I do like the balance of this Chiefs schedule. So through much of the seasons, they'll play 2 games at home, 2 games on the road, game at home, 2 games on the road, 2 games at home. So it's not like they have a huge stretch where they have to go 3 or 4 games on the road. At the end of the season, they play 3 of their 4 games on the road, but I don't think that's going to be a problem because the Chiefs travel really well, and I expect their defense to be pretty good next year, and that usually travels really well also, especially in colder weather. And so Houston, a warm weather team, that week 16 game, they're going to have to come up to Kansas City and play in the cold. I don't know if that'll have an impact or not. But then also looking at the Chiefs' schedule, like their home games, their home opponents are much better than their road opponents. So the first 2 weeks of the season, Baltimore, Cincinnati, those might be 2 of the best teams that they play all year. Then they have Houston at the end of the year. That's another awesome team. Their best road opponents are the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. But looking at their schedule as a whole, their home games are a lot easier than the road games are in totality. At least looking at it right now. A lot of things can happen between now and the end of the season. But I think every single one of these games is going to be a dogfight for the Chiefs. None of these are a given. Every year there's a team that falls off the radar, falls off the rails, their quarterback gets injured, something happens, and that's going to happen to some of these teams. Let's hope that it doesn't happen to the Chiefs. But all in all, I like the schedule. I'm not a big fan of all the weird nights. I like Monday Night Football. I'm not so sure I'm a big fan of Thursday Night Football. It just seems like the product or the level of play is not the best. I really don't like that the Chiefs are playing on a Wednesday on Christmas Day. But all in all, the Chiefs will play these games as they're scheduled, and then everything else is up to them. They don't make the schedule, they just have to play the games. But that's my take on the schedule as a whole, my kind of immediate reaction, my feelings towards this schedule. Let me know down in the comments again if there's anything you feel like I should have addressed in regards to the Chiefs schedule. Is there anything you're excited to see? Which week or which game are you looking forward to the most? Other than that, I think I've covered all the bases I can think of off the top of my head regarding the schedule. So I'm gonna call it a night. And you fine ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your Thursday night and enjoy the rest of your week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And with every day that passes, we are closer to kickoff. I wish time could speed up a little bit because I am really jonesing for some football. I know you all are too. But this is Gary McKenzie signing out. Once again, thanks everyone for watching. It's really a treat and my pleasure to deliver this content to you all. Let's go Chiefs.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.